Great. Happy Saturday, everyone, and welcome. Cassange, did you want to still wait for 3 minutes? You're muted.
Yeah, I think we had like almost 20 people to join us today, so we can wait 3 more minutes
Okay,
to give them time. Yeah.
great.
Maybe. Do you want to start?
Great. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I guess, can you hear me? And excuse the congestion. Welcome to another I Learn Saturday training session. And today we have Cassange Bitère on monitoring and evaluation for nonprofits. And thank you again for also taking part on the survey that was sent out just to help us with this particular training. So Cassange, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Debbie. Good morning, everybody. Just before I start, I just wanted to say, if you see me moving, like I'm looking somewhere else, it's because I have two screens. It's not like I'm not paying attention to you. I'm looking at my other screens here. So that's why I will be turning my head around. So welcome to this session. My name is Cassange Bitère, and today we're going to discuss about monitoring and evaluation. And just before we start, I'm just going to properly introduce myself. So who am I? I recently graduated with a master's degree in development practice at Emory University in Atlanta this year, actually. And also in terms of like experience, I've been working for over 5 years in the development world. Like, I mean, with international NGOs, such as the AIDS Healthcare Foundation or AHF in Haiti. And for the last 2 years, I've been working with CARE USA, CARE International, CARE USA, and CARE Côte d'Ivoire in Kenya as well. And most of my expertise, I have most of my expertise in monitoring and evaluation, qualitative research design, and data analysis. And all the domains that I basically work in are global health and well-being, women economic empowerment, and early child marriage. And recently, I've been doing some social norm work. And I currently have two ongoing research studies. Actually, it's like three of them, but I'm doing social norms diagnosis in Kenya and Nigeria with CARE USA, and also in partnership with the University of California, San Diego. And I am working on the manuscript for the Kenya chapter right now, and later on this year as well, we'll be working on the manuscript for Nigeria. They will be published before the end of the year. And also the other research that I was doing is the measurement of well-being among Black communities in Atlanta with Emory University where I studied. And this manuscript will be published also before the end of the year. So basically that's me. And today, the discussion that we're going to have is basically about monitoring and evaluation, obviously. So first of all, we're going to discuss like the objective of this session. And then we're going to have like the definition of monitoring and evaluation, see the difference between monitoring and evaluation and its importance, mostly for nonprofit organizations. And we're going to discuss the M&E framework and approaches, such as the theory of change. And within the theory of change, we're going to see all the components and its benefits. We're going to see how we can develop a theory of change, and we will have a simple visual example of the theory of change as well. And it's going to be the same for the log frame, which are the basics of monitoring and evaluation system. And also we're going to discuss like the steps to develop an M&E system and the challenges and best practices that we usually encounter as development practitioners in doing monitoring and evaluation. And at the end of the session, we'll have a knowledge check just to make sure that everybody actually captures the most important part of the discussion today. And at the end, a Q&A. So far, just before I move to the objective, is there any question that somebody has before we start the session? Because what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to do it in English mostly. But if someone does not understand something that I'm saying, you can just maybe raise your hand. I don't think I can see the screen or if someone raised their hands. So Debbie, and if you can monitor that for me as well, please let me know if you can do it, please. And if any question during the session, do not hesitate to stop me, please. Thank you. So far, is everybody okay with me?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So what is the objective of the session today? Today, the training is going to provide the participants with the basics knowledge of a monitoring and evaluation system for nonprofit, which includes the key concepts, the common challenges, and the best practices, and most generally used for data collection methods. The participants will also learn the basics to develop and utilize frameworks such as theory of change, logical framework that we usually refer to as log frame to track progress, assess outcomes, and enhance project performance. So this is the objective that we have for today. And I really hope at the end of the session that everybody is going to be, I'm not going to say an expert in monitoring and evaluation, but at least you'll have the basics of it. So just to start, as a definition for monitoring and evaluation, as you can see here, monitoring is a systematic and continuous process of collecting, analyzing, and using information that we call data in the world of monitoring and evaluation to track the progress of a project and program against set objectives. And its purpose is usually to ensure that activities are on track and also to identify any issues or deviations early so we can make informed decisions based on what we are doing, based on the information that we get from the monitoring. And also it provides regular feedback to stakeholders as well. So based on this definition of monitoring, it focuses on the day-to-day activities such as short-term outputs, the activities that we organize to actually reach the goal of the project, and also, yeah, I mentioned output as well. And also its timing is very continuous throughout the project lifecycle. And by this, I mean it happens daily, weekly, or monthly. It depends on the project that you're working on. And for evaluation, this is a systematic assessment of a completed project or program, including its design, implementation, and outcomes. So its purpose is to assess the effectiveness of the project, the impact, and its sustainability. It helps to identify the lessons learned during the project. And also it provides accountability to stakeholders, donors, and community as well, like the beneficiaries. And also it informs decision-making for future projects through the lessons learned. And its focus is usually long-term, and it focuses on the impacts, like intended impact of the project and also unintended impact of the project as well. So basically that's it. And in terms of timing, it is really different different than the monitoring. Usually evaluation happens sometimes in the middle of the project. Like if you have a project for 5 years, for example, evaluation might happen, like they call it midterm evaluation. It happens half year or halfway of the project, but it also depends on the organizations. Like for example, there's a project that I worked on this summer. It's a 5-year project, but after the first year, they did an evaluation of the very first impact of the project. Just to tell you that it doesn't happen daily or monthly as it happens for the monitoring, but it happens at certain specific time, but it is determined by the organization or by the stakeholders, by the donors as well. And there we do have other names that we use for monitoring and evaluation. It depends on the organization. It depends on what they are looking for. And the different names that we do have is MERL, as you can see here. It stands for Monitoring, Evaluation, Research, and Learning. We do also refer to it as MEAL, which is Monitoring, Evaluation, Accountability, and Learning. MEL as in Monitoring, Evaluation, and Learning. DMNE, which is the Design of Monitoring and Evaluation. RNL, which is Research and Learning. And PDM and MNE. PDMNE is Program Development, Monitoring, and Evaluation. So depending on the organization, their goal and everything, they can change the name of the monitoring and evaluation system based on what they are looking for exactly. So as we saw in the definition of monitoring and evaluation, there's a lot of differences between the two of them. And the differences are in terms of the scope, the objective, the data, and the frequency, also the stakeholders. As you can see here, for the monitoring, this is, as we define it, it's an ongoing process that tracks the day-to-day activities and the process and outputs of a project. But the evaluation, on the other hand, is a periodic and it also focuses on assessing the long-term outcomes and impact of the project. And for the objective, for the monitoring part, it ensures that the project is being implemented as planned, allowing the identification of issues, such as if you occur like an issue in the middle of the project, like it helps you to make a decision so that you can address the issue that you've noticed early on. And in terms, and for the evaluation part, it aims to determine the project's overall success, like effectiveness, relevancy, efficiency, sustainability, and also it helps to get the lessons learned and also um, propose some recommendation for future projects or for future interventions. And in terms of data, monitoring involves routine and systematic data, like collecting a collection of using performance indicators and regular reports. And also evaluation employs in-depth data collection methods, which often use mixed approaches such as survey, interviews, and sometimes case studies, also observations to gather comprehensive insights. In terms of monitoring as well, sometimes they do survey. I mean, it depends on the project as well. Like, I worked when I was working in Haiti for the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. One of the things that we used to collect data, quantitative data actually was um, using the pharmacy logbook to see how many people came to the hospital to get medication for their treatment. So it depends on the project, its objective and stuff that you can actually tailor some tool to collect the data that you need. We'll see that later in the presentation as well. And in terms of frequency, the monitoring is a continuous activity, like you collect data on a daily basis, regularly, I can say. But for the evaluation, it occurs at specific times. And the stakeholders are really different. For the monitoring, primarily, the stakeholders are the project managers, the team members or data collectors as well, and direct stakeholders of the project. And for the evaluation, it engages a broader range of stakeholders, including donors, and sometimes it happens with policymakers as well, such as like it depends. It can be people in government and stuff. It also involves the community or the beneficiaries of the project, and also future program designers. Like the research I've been doing in Kenya, we do it to inform an intervention in Kenya as well. So people are, I mean, the designer or the program designers are going to use the findings of that research to actually inform the projects that they're going to implement maybe by next year. This helps to ensure accountability and informed decision for future interventions as well. So far, I don't know if anybody has any question for this part, because I'm going to jump to the importance of doing monitoring and evaluation.
No
Any
question.
question?
However, I would
Okay.
say when it comes to monitoring and evaluation, depending on the, you could say, methodology you're using, you will
Mhm.
always use quantitative as well as qualitative data sets. Now, with the key differences that you have with scope of work, objective data, frequency, and stakeholders would ensure the individual who is the key lead of this, you could say, a project, should they have some background in understanding of project management?
Technically, they can have like a basic background of project management. So that's why maybe I didn't put that in my slides today. That's why when you're doing monitoring and evaluation, one thing I've learned is that everybody that is involved in the project should really understand what is M&E. Because whatever your position is in the project or in the within the organization, you are also participating in like in the progress, or also participating in collecting data for to assess the project that you're working on. So basically they should have a background of monitoring and evaluation, and also maybe program management, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, no questions from my end.
Oh,
Anyone else? Est-ce que gen lot moun ki gen question?
okay, we're moving on.
Right.
But if you have any other question, if you don't want to talk, you can put it in the chat, and Debbie will monitor the chat, and she can stop me and ask me the question. I'll try my best to provide the best answer.
Right.
Yeah. So now, in terms of importance of monitoring and evaluation, the monitoring and evaluation is really crucial to ensure that the project is effective and to also hold accountable everybody that was involved in the project or the organization. And for the key parts of the importance of monitoring and evaluation, these are not only 10, there are more than 10, but I focus is on those 10 ones because I think they are really important for people to understand or to have the basics understanding of monitoring and evaluation. So the first one is improve project management, project performance. The monitoring provides ongoing feedback on project implementation, allowing a timely adjustment and improvements to stay on track with the objective of the project. And for the evaluation, it assesses the effectiveness and impact of the project, helping to identify the best practices and areas that needs improvement for future initiatives. These are all the things that I mentioned earlier as well, but they are really, really important to understand how to capture to better practice M&E. And in terms of like enhancing, in terms of like importance as well, you should be able to enhance accountability. Um, the system ensures that the project activities and outcomes are documented and reported transparently, holding implementers accountable to stakeholders, donors, and beneficiaries. And when I say stakeholders, I just wanted to make that difference. When I say stakeholders, sometimes they refer to stakeholders as donors and everybody that's involved in the project, but sometimes there are organizations that separate stakeholders with beneficiaries, but sometimes they don't separate them. Also, they consider beneficiaries as stakeholders of the project as well sometimes, but not all organizations do that. And in terms of like the third point of the important is informed decision making. The data that you gathered from the monitoring and evaluation provide critical information for making informed decisions, and it helps also to optimize the resources and also to prioritize activities based on evidence. What do I mean by prioritizing activities based on evidence? Is like, let's say that you're working on a project that is trying to provide food for kids in school. And at the same time, you're providing um, food for kids in school, you're also causing or also creating some types of like harm to certain people who are being exposed. Like when I say being exposed, I mean some people don't, even though they need the help, they don't want people to kind of know, or it's like they want to keep it private, even if they need the help. So when you're doing the evaluation of that project, you will receive some type of feedback from these people saying that, okay, I benefit from that project, but at the same time, the activities that you did through that project actually exposed me to a larger public that is really like looking at me like as someone who is in need. So like you're causing harm to that person. So you're doing the activities, you don't really capture that, but when you do the evaluation of the project, you capture that part of the project. So that helps you to in the future make any actually address that, but to say that, hey, we cause harm to these people, to this group of people when we did these activities. So next time we're doing it, let's try to minimize or mitigate those harm that we cause to that people as well. So these are the types of data that you can gather from or insights that you can gather from the monitoring and evaluation that can help you make informed decisions later. And for the fourth part, it's facilitate learning and knowledge sharing. Evaluation findings contribute to a body of knowledge, like allowing organizations to learn from their experiences and share lessons with others, fostering continuous improvement and innovation as well. And the example I gave you earlier can also be applied for this one. Like you documented that part and they know what type of harm that the project can cause to people. They learn from it and they actually tailor another intervention to actually address that issue. And also for the fifth point, we have ensures efficient use of resources. By tracking progress and outcomes, and monitoring evaluation helps to ensure that resources that we have for the project are used effectively and efficiently, which really helps to maximize the impact and the investment, and also minimizing waste of resources. Like you like spending money on certain activities, but you're not really getting anything valuable from these activities. This is like some type of waste. So by tracking progress and the outcomes, you can really gather insights from that to actually mitigate or minimize those waste of resources. It also helps to support strategic planning with the data also, or by providing a clear understanding of what is working, what is not working, and also to guide the development of future projects and programs, or even the development of future activities as well through the same project. And it also demonstrates impact by providing evidence on the project's impact, which is really crucial for securing future funding or for business development, and also to build stakeholders' confidence, and also to kind of show the value of the work that you've been doing as well. It also enhances the stakeholders' engagement. Regular monitoring, updates, and evaluation reports keep everybody who is involved in the project informed by fostering a collaborative environment to ensure that the needs and perspectives of the projects are really considered. And for the improved risk management, it helps to identify issues such as the challenges early, and it also helps to manage the risk and avoid potential problems that to ensure that the project is continuing to run smoother, or to be implemented in a smoother way, I can say. And also it promotes sustainability, like by assessing the sustainability of the project outcomes, it provides insight into how the benefits can be maintained and scaled up beyond the project life cycle. Like, let's say through the projects I've been working on in women economic empowerment, one of the things that we do, we have the Village Saving Loan Association, which is basically certain women in a community that are saving money together. And based on the money that they are saving, they can actually develop some types of like, they call it IGA, income generating activities. Like it can be like certain businesses such as opening a restaurant in their community, activities that can give them money. So even though you like providing those people with money as well to actually help them develop their businesses. So let's say at the end of the project, you go, what you've been doing for those communities should be sustainable. What I mean by sustainable is like, even without your money anymore, or even without the project's money anymore, those people should be able to continue doing their businesses, or continue like saving money to actually implement new businesses in their community and be more financially independent. So that's what promoting sustainability stands for. So far, no question about this part. We're going to go to the main part of the session now, which is the theory of change and log frame. Debbie, I don't see the chat. I don't see anything.
No questions.
Okay. Thank you. So this is the main part of the session. I really wanted to focus on the theory of change and also the log frame. So we're going to start with the theory of change. By definition, a theory of change, or TOC, it is a really detailed explanation on how and why we expect a particular change to happen in a project context. And its purpose is to actually like lay out the pathway from activities that we're going to undertake to the outputs, to the short-term or the long-term outcomes, and to the impacts. It also highlights the connection between each step of the project, and also the assumptions that we make along the way. By assumption, what I mean is like, these are certain condition that or factor that is really necessary for a change to happen. But those factors usually they are not they are outside of the direct and direct control maybe of the project managers. But it is really important to identify those impacts. It will help you to actually know the potential risks of the project to succeed, and also to develop some mitigation plan to address those assumptions. And for the logical framework that we refer to as log frame most of the time, it is a structured table that is used to plan, to monitor, and to evaluate our projects. It also contains basically all the components of the theory of change that we're going to see later. But it has other components in it that gives you a broader view uh, of everything that is needed for the project as well. It summarizes all the elements of the project, such as the activities, the outcomes, the impact of the project. And also it has certain indicators that will help you to measure the progress of the activities and everything that is related to your project. So just before we move forward, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So for the theory of change, we have important components. So I forgot to say that theory of change, sometimes they refer to it as logic model. I think now it's more like logic model than theory of change for many organizations. And it is a really essential part of um, it is really an essential part of the monitoring and evaluation system, because it brings the relationship between all the different activities, outputs, and outcome of the project. So as you can see here, the main components are the inputs, the activities, the outputs, the outcomes, the impact, assumptions, and context. So by activities, what are they? These are the specific actions that are going to happen um, within the cycle of the project. They should be really specific, and also they should identify who is responsible for carrying each activity in the logical framework. I mean, in the logic model. And for the outputs, they are like really tangible results or outcome, direct outcome of the activities actually. And for the outcomes, the other changes that will happen in certain like behavior. It depends on the project. It can be change that will happen. Like let's say you go to a community and you're training people about wash, like water and sanitation and hygiene. Like you go to a community where people don't really wash their hands before they eat, and you design a theory of change. You say that, okay, we're going to have these activities, which is like, we're going to have trainings for those people to show them the importance of like washing their hands before eating. So based on these activities, this is what I expect. I expect people to now wash their hands. And by washing their hands, people are not going to be infected by certain like bacteria or whatever that can get them sick. And the impact that I want is that I want that community to overcome not malaria, but any sickness that is related to certain bacteria or something like that. So these are the different steps of what the theory of change is like trying to show in the project life cycle. So that's why I said, like, in the outcomes, you're trying to see the change in behavior, in knowledge, in attitudes and belief as well. And for impact, this is the really long-term objective. Sometimes just for the outcome, sometimes some people or some organizations, they put short-term outcomes and long-term outcomes and impact. It depends on what the organization is really looking for. And the assumptions, as I said earlier, is the condition of factors that is believed to be necessary for the project to happen, but it's really out of control of the project managers or the organization. And for context, these are external factors that may influence the process and outcomes of the project as well. And in terms of benefits, the theory of change really provide you a clear and shared understanding of how change is expected to happen. It helps to identify critical assumptions such as the risk and help you to manage uncertainties. Like, let's say you're in the community, you're like working in Haiti, and suddenly something happened within the government. There's like political unrest and stuff like that. So having a theory of change and you have that assumption that something may happen with the government that can actually impact your project, you also design like a mitigation plan. So you're gonna at that time use your mitigation plan to actually, in times of crisis, use that plan to actually continue working on that project without any impact, so you can ensure the success of the project as well. It also facilitates strategic planning and communication among stakeholders. Like in the theory of change, there are so many layers, I can say, like how you communicate with people, who you communicate with, when you communicate with those people. So this really gives you all the information that you need through the life project as well, life cycle of the project as well. And next, how do you develop a theory of change? The process of developing a theory of change is complex because you need to involve different stakeholders. So you need to start by engaging all key stakeholders so you can make sure that diverse perspective or insight of the project are reflected, which also means you should use a participatory approach. And also for the next step, which is the backward mapping, what I mean by that is that instead of starting with activities, output, outcomes, short-term outcomes, long-term outcomes, and impact, you start with the impact first, and then you work backward to identify the necessary preconditions at each stage of the project as well. Identify assumptions. It clearly articulate the assumptions or underlying linkages or causal linkages to understand what needs to be true for the change to happen. And then you can based on those steps, like involving the stakeholder, doing the backward mapping, doing the identification of assumptions, you can create a visual representation of the theory of change or logic model to show all the pathways and the relationship between all the activities, outputs, outcomes, and impacts of the project. And then finally, you will do the validation, which is really important to refine the theory of change through certain discussion and feedback from stakeholders. This process is they call it like iterative process, like iteration, which means like even though you have the theory of change completed, but you discuss the relationship, or you discuss the whole components of the theory of change with all stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, it can be like project managers, people who are going to collect data for you. And sometimes it depends on the organization, some beneficiaries of the project as well, just to make sure that the theory of change is really accurate and comprehensive. And also it can provide like a comprehensive framework of the project's success. So basically that's it for the theory of change. And I have a simple example of a theory of change here. It's not like a complete theory of change. So like you cannot really see the assumptions here for this one, but the basic components such as activities, outputs, short-term outcomes, intermediate outcomes, and impacts. These are the steps, the visual steps that you are trying to provide, or you are trying to create actually, to show all the relationships in the project, and um, to also better identify the impact that you're looking for. But in terms of the assumptions that I was talking earlier, it's not mentioned here, but in terms of when you're looking at it like risk and mitigation, you can really see that they think through the assumptions, and they do prepare some types of mitigation strategies to overcome all the risks and all the assumptions that might affect the project success. So this is really, really simple. but certain theory of change are really complicated in terms of like the visual are really complicated. But this one, some development practitioners, when they are developing theory of change, they use arrows to really show where the relationship actually between all the components, such as this activity is going to lead to this output, and this output is going to lead to this outcome, and this outcome is going to lead to this other outcome or this long-term outcomes until the end back here. Like for this one here, you see that we have the training of HIV care providers on the administration of LAI-ART, and then it leads to the output, which is HIV care providers are trained and ready to administer LAI-ART. And this activity or this output actually leads to the PLHIV. Like PLHIV is people living with HIV receive knowledge training on the new LAI-ART. LAI-ART is the new medication. I think it's a vaccine for people living with HIV from care providers. So this is all the relationships you're trying to build or you're trying to create through the theory of change actually. And it's the same thing for every single boxes that you see here. And for the log frame, um, you see here the log frame or the logical framework or log frame, it really shares almost all the same components as the theory of change. And you can see here, they both include all the activities, outputs, outcomes, and assumptions. However, in this one, it also includes elements such as indicators, means of verification, and clear distinction between inputs and outputs. The log frame's components include the overarching goal as well, and the specific purpose and tangible outputs. And I'm sorry, I'm lost in this one. Yeah, the indicators, the mean of verification, the assumptions. So as you can see, if I go back to the theory of change here, I'm sorry to go back here, you can see I didn't have any goal in the theory of change, actually, but in the log frame, we do have goal. So it's just to tell you that the log frame is a broader framework that actually gives you a whole like visual, not visual, like how do you say that word again? I forgot about it. Like
You can say it in Creole or French if need be.
that's the thing. I don't know the technical terms in Creole and French. I know them in English, but the word is I lost the word. But it's like it gives you the I want to say a broader view of the project, but that's not exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay.
It gives you the broader view of the project, like every single thing that you're going to do through the project that you need actually to understand the project, how it's going to work and everything. You really know how you're going to work to achieve that goal. You really know how you're going to work to actually make that activity happen and everything, if you see what I'm saying. But I
I
forgot the
I
technical word for that. Yeah.
I
And in
definitely
terms
do.
of benefit, yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to add on with the logic module. Is that like when it comes to the assemble of a logic module, like you have to think on the team dynamic and you have to take a team approach rather than a company approach. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
exactly. Yeah. You're mostly like referring to the participatory approach of like developing the TOC, the
Yes.
logic model.
Yep.
Yeah. You really need a team approach instead of like the company approach. Because when you don't do that, like for example, when I was working in Haiti, our theory of change was developed by the donor only. But when I was on the field doing the work that I was doing, the theory of change was not useful at all because everything that actually happens on the field, I couldn't really capture them from the theory of change, neither the log frame that I was working with. You understand what I mean? So that's why you really need a team approach to develop either the logic model and the log frame as well, if that makes sense to you.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of benefits, the log frame provides a clear, concise summary of the project structure. It facilitates communication and understanding of all parties, which is also because of the team approach that you adopt. to develop the log frame and the logic model. And also it enhances planning, monitoring, and evaluation by linking activities to expected results, and also helps to identify potential risks and assumptions to improve the management of the project. As you can see here, the benefits are kind of similar to the theory change. That's why I said that the logic model is like a complementary of the log frame is a complementary of the logic model or the theory of change. And in terms of process to develop the logical framework, you start by defining the long-term goal and the specific purpose of the project. And next, you list the activities that you're going to actually implement to achieve the desired outputs. And also you identify the direct results of these activities, which are the outputs. And then you determine the short-term outcomes and the long-term outcomes, and also the impacts of the project that is going to actually lead you to the very end goal of the project. So also for the indicators, what you're going to do when you do the log frame, you will actually create indicators for each activity, for each output, for each outcomes, and the impact as well. But for the impact, usually the indicators that they create it to do the evaluation. Sometimes it's not really being monitored on a regular basis, but they leave it until they're going to conduct like maybe a midterm evaluation or something like that. And also it also has the means of evaluation, which is the means of verification, which is the source where you're going to get the data. And finally, it identifies key assumptions at each level to understand the external factors that could affect the achievement of the project's objectives. So I think for me, the log frame gives you like a really clear and systematic plan for the implementation of the monitoring and evaluation system. And as an example, this is not created by me. I'm not taking credit for this one. This is an example that I use to develop other logic log frame, and I always refer to it. So this is like a part of a log frame. It's not like a complete log frame, but as you can see here, here we have activity. All the activities are listed here, like engage stakeholders directly through face-to-face meetings to research issues around recycling and contamination. And we have research and develop draft educational tools. We have consult various stakeholders and seek suggestions and stuff like that. And every other activities that we have here. But here where we have project measures, these are all the indicators that they're gonna use to measure that activities are happening, and total project outputs. These are for me, I would say it's more like target, because they do have numbers, like numbers of stakeholders that were engaged in this activity. But the output for me would be like, it's not really mentioned here, but the output for me would be something like stakeholders are engaged. And you put the number here, which is how many stakeholders are engaged in the activities, which is 8. And also number of meetings that happen, which is also 8 here. Organizations that engage, which is 6 here. So these are all the indicators that they use to measure all the progress of these activities. And how will progress be measured? Which is I'm sorry, I'm not sure. Monitor the number of meetings with various groups. So which is not the source of the data, but you're gonna use how you're going to get the data, like how you're going to measure this. It's like a definition of how you're going to measure this indicator, if you understand what I mean. And for also we have when will the progress happen, which is the frequency. It happens after each meeting. But this one, because like they are like training meetings and stuff like that, they happen after the meeting occurred. But for certain activities, such as like you're working at a hospital, you need to know how many people came to the hospital. These are data that you're going to collect every single day. And even if you don't collect them every single day, you're going to collect them every week, actually. And for tools or resources that are required to measure this progress, they are like the source of information where you're going to get this data, like log to record number of stakeholder groups and individuals engaged. It can be like a list of presence of during the training or the meeting that you're gonna use to actually confirm that, okay, we did that meeting, we had 8 stakeholders that took part of the meeting. So this is the source of the data. And who is responsible for it? So here it is the project officer, but depending on the project that you're working on, it can be someone else. Like, let's say, again, you need to know how many people came to the hospital. So if you have to go to the archives to have that information, you go into the archive, and people who are working in the archives are the ones that are going to provide you with that information. And also the log frame, sometimes they do have like when the activity is going to be completed, which is the very end date. So for certain projects, actually, even if the project life cycle is like 5 years, certain activities might happen in the very first month of the project, and they're completed in the very first month of the project. So when you have this section of the log frame, which is activity completion dates, it gives you exactly when that activity happened. But some projects actually, they do, as you're collecting data like on a regular basis. So the activity completion date might be at the very end of the project as well. So it is important to keep that information in the log frame, even though you're not going to really complete it like on a regular basis. And in terms of the steps, oh, sorry, is there any question regarding the log frame or theory of change?
So far, no question in the chat box, but I think we could open the floor for people to ask any questions that they want answers to.
Yeah.
Because like we kind of like we basically pour a lot of information, so I'm not sure if it like clicked just yet. So
Mhm.
if anyone
Yeah.
have any questions, maybe with the logic model, I did drop a link to help you guys when it comes to how to create a logic model. Like I guess the steps kind of helps me, because like with the formatting of the logic model, how it looks,
Mhm.
sometimes it might be confusing for some people, but like knowing how to answer each section kind of like helps you to make proper decision. Like an example you mentioned with the 5 logical module elements, you have the resources, inputs, activities, outputs, outcomes, and impact. So for resources or input and activities, so that would be like step 1, which falls in line with your planned work.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
outputs, outcomes, impacts falls in line with your intended results. So let's say if your intended plan is to create a let's say a food system, not now, let's say food system, like you want to focus on malnutrition and you want to meet you could say 1,000 kids just to alleviate malnutrition, and let's say in Lembe. In Lembe, for I guess for those, I'm not sure if everyone is Haitian here. So Lembe is a part in Haiti, mostly in the north region. So now focusing on limb malnutrition, and you want to reach 1,000 kids. The output is you want to reach 1,000 kids. But once you get there, as Cassange mentioned, unfortunately, there's a lot of risk factors that might fall in line that causes you not to reach 1,000 kids. That causes you to only reach like 100. And this is the perfect opportunity to reevaluate what is it that you're not doing right, what is it that is a risk factor that caused you to fall back on your plan, and as well as like just to meet your goal, can you alleviate, can you change, can you innovate? I think like when it comes to meal or monitoring, evaluation, learning, accountability, it requires you to constantly evolve what the intended objection was. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cassange.
Yeah. Yeah, you're correct. You're right.
And there is one question, hold on, from Fred. He said, will you will you share the presentation with them after?
Yes. Yes, I am planning to share the presentation at the end of the session. I
Awesome.
will send it out to everybody. But I think there are some people, I don't know if everybody here put their email in the list that we had, but some people couldn't really find their email. So just to make sure that everybody receives it, can you put your email in the chat and Debbie will try to save the chat so we can have everybody's email.
Awesome. Please and thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
And there was one question, well, there was a question that many people was asking was about certificates. Due to
Yeah.
this being very public and as well, there's going to be a pre-recording that will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. There would be no certificate. However, just let us know, I guess, probably on the side via email if you would still like to have one. But unfortunately, because we are not a accredited, I can never say that word, institution, I won't say like it holds no value per se, but like you add value to it. But it won't stand in line to Stanford, a certificate from Stanford University, you know? That's basically what I mean.
All right. Any other question? I think we have 3 minutes left if we wanted to still keep it to 1 hour. But I just wanted to quickly go through these steps to develop an M&E system here, just to show the how the process is.
Mhm.
And I think we had like maybe two or actually I have 6 more slides, but I think 2 or 3 of them are like some components of the training and the end are like knowledge check and Q&A.
I
So
believe
I'm mhm,
honestly, I think it's really up to the participants. I believe we can still move forward. That is, if everyone is in agreement. If you
okay.
have to
Yeah.
go, it's okay to fall off. There's going to be a
Okay.
pre-recording. But I would say it's really up to you guys if you want to continue.
Okay. So if someone cannot stay until the end, you can just like put that information in the chat and you're free to leave, but we're going to continue to the end of the training. Thank you. So for the steps to develop an M&E system, as you can see here, this looks like a theory of change as well because of the different boxes that we have and different arrows that we have that leads to each step. So the first step is to review the objectives and the scope of the project. And the second one is to identify the key resources, including M&E tools, and to develop a logic model. And as you can see here, I linked it to theory of change because this is within this step that you start to develop your theory of change for the project as well. And after developing the logic model, that's where you go to develop the monitoring objectives and questions, and also to select the indicators and set the targets, which is basically the log frame development. You design the log frame actually. And then you set your targets, you start to determine the data sources, to develop the data use and communication advocacy plan. Advocacy plan, it also depends on the project that you're working for, and also to collect data and create a database. So all those, like the second line of the boxes and the third line, they are all related to the log frame development. And also the third one also is a is when you start to do the monitoring part, not the evaluation part, but the monitoring part. And then after you collect the data and create the database, that's when you conduct data analysis and you feed the information back to the project implementers and make continuous adjustment based on the information that you collected. That's basically the monitoring part of it. So these are all the steps that you take to develop any many system. So you see, the process really looks long and it really starts exactly when you start to implement your project. The monitoring and evaluation system start exactly when you start implementing your project. And for data collection for monitoring and evaluations, the methods that are mostly used for data collections are qualitative methods and quantitative method. I put qualitative for both of them, I'm sorry, but I mean quantitative and qualitative method. I'm sorry, I'm always making that typo. So generally, the most used methods um, those two. And how do they collect data is like you conduct interviews, focus groups, and also observations. And through interviews, I mean, it can be like a one-on-one interview, which is called sometimes in-depth interview. And also it can be called key informant interview as well. And for observation, observation is you don't have to ask people question, but you know what information you're looking for, and you go and you're trying to observe what's happening. Like you went to that community for a wash program, you're trying to make people change their behavior in washing their hands before they eat. You need to do an observation to see if people are really doing that. So you go to the community, you sit somewhere where you can have like an eye on what's happening in the community, and you're really observing if that's happening. And also, let's say that you provide in within a project, you provided training to a group of people, and they have to also use that training that you gave to them and do it in their community. So you wanna like assess the quality of that training. You just go to that community and you just like observe how is the training being provided by the trainer. This is an observation that you can use to do qualitative data collection. And for the quantitative data collection, you do have the different tools that they use. They use like surveys. It can be like also some types of like structured questionnaire, which is really essential to gather numerical data, and that you can do like some type of like statistical analysis. And those surveys can be administered in various formats. They can be collected through like paper-based survey, and also be like using some type of software online. Like recently I've been using one that is called Solstice. And I think the most used tool for that is Kobo Toolbox, I think. But it really depends on the organization and what tool they really want to use. So basically that's it for but I just wanted to say as well, these are not the only methods that you can collect data for to do monitoring and evaluation. It can really be of various. It really depends on the project. It really depends on the organization. They can get data from any single thing, actually. And one important thing maybe I should state, there's something that we call literature review or desk review. This is also a type of way to collect data, like maybe like you go on Google Scholar, you're looking for some type of research studies that happen, or like a project evaluation. You read that through that project evaluation and you collect data from that project evaluation or that research to inform your own monitoring and evaluation system. Sometimes you don't use this data to make decision about a community that you're working for, because they are not like primary data, but they can really help you to maybe create a baseline for the community that for the project that you are trying to implement. So it's really various. It depends on what you're working for and the project you're working for.
We do have one
Any?
question
Okay, yeah, sure.
related to, if you go back to the last slide,
Mhm.
qualitative methods and quantitative methods. You actually have both of them
Yeah,
there. So
I said that. Yeah, I made the mistake, but it's quantitative methods.
So with qualitative and quantitative, someone, Fifi basically asked, are there any specific cases where these methods can be used?
Depends. It depends on the project. It depends on what you are looking for. Some project, like, let's say that you're doing something and what's of interest for you is like knowing how many people that benefit from something. Like this, something like this, you are basically going to use a quantitative method to gather the data. Like you go to a community, you said like, okay, I went there, 100 children are not able to go to school. So I'm going to implement that project that I can pay school for the whole 100 students, I mean children. So in order for you to really understand if you help 100 children to go to school, you cannot do you cannot use any other method than quantitative method. So you use that quantitative method you can maybe do it like through a survey, like to gather data for this, but also you can actually go to that same community or to the school and see among those kids that you had in your target, how many of them is going to school there. So based on this information that you get from the school, you can actually do a statistical analysis to understand or to see if you reach your target to actually send 100 students to school or children to school. It really depends. But now, if at the same time you need to understand, okay, they go to school, but is it really helping them to, is it really changing their attitude? Is it really giving them the knowledge that they need to thrive in the community? There, you're either gonna, not either actually, you're gonna need to use both methods, the quantitative method and the qualitative method that will provide you more insight, understand how going to school really help them to thrive in the community, to actually be more empowered in the community. It really depends on what you're looking for. I don't know if that answers your question, Sifi.
I actually would like to add to that as well, because the method that you just mentioned, the last one, is a quasi-experimental method where
Mhm.
you're using both qualitative and quantitative, where you
Yeah.
have like you're using surveys to collect data on, let's say you have 10 specific questions that you need the answers to, while in the same time with the example of the students, you need to understand is it really helping them? This is where you
Exactly.
include interviews or you do like a focus group, and you have
Yeah.
the focus group will be set like a beta group. The first group is the I forgot the word, to be honest with you, is the beta group basically have a specific answer that you're trying to attain, while beta B now they have something completely different, a question that is completely different, or an example or exercise they were working on, or they didn't have the formula that you gave them to attain to, let's say, get in 100 on a test. So
Yeah.
you're trying to now interview both groups to see which one of them actually attain 100% on the test. I guess
Mhm.
an example that I would like to use as well with the method of quasi-experimental is when basically, if let's say we're studying the Haitian diaspora to see how their impact on philanthropy, on nonprofit actually plays a role. Now you're utilizing surveys. With surveys, you can use multiple methods with surveys. You can use free methods, like Google Form is free. But on the back end, it depends on how you like your data, your raw data to look like. On
Yeah.
the back end, it might
Exactly.
it might look a little, funky. You have SurveyMonkey, you have a lot of
So
other
this,
platforms that you can
yeah.
utilize to do electronic surveys. In Haiti's case, sometimes most people, they don't prefer electronics. They would gravitate more towards on a manual paper where they put in the
Mhm.
information. And when that happens, depending what it is that you're studying, you might need a team with you that will go in person to actually get them to answer the questions. And
Exactly.
then with the interview style, let's say, again, focusing on the diaspora role in philanthropy, is you're doing like an interview as well as group size, where you have a group of diaspora that basically, based on your survey collection, you reached out to see if whether or not they will be interested in providing more insights based on some particular questions that they answered that was somewhat vague. You didn't know what they meant, and you just need their insight just to understand what it is that they were going to basically say. And the observation, it's basically you based on the survey as well as in the interview based on your observation, what came out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you for adding to that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Any question related to that part of the slide?
No more questions.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So now in terms of like challenges and best practices in monitoring and evaluation, we all usually face the challenges of like limited resources, such as the like you don't have enough money to do the monitoring and evaluation, and it can really like impact the implementation of certain activities. And for the second one is like you don't have like staff, like I don't know how, I can't remember exactly how they call it, like the human resources that you need to actually implement all the activities related to monitoring and evaluation. And also for the third one is like engaging stakeholders effectively. This is really, really, really crucial for I mean, not crucial, but like this is a really, really big challenge in practicing a monitoring and evaluation due to the different like level of interest, influence, and understanding of the M&E activities. So it is really to overcome these challenges, it really requires like strategic planning or capacity building, and also to always doing some type of improvement to enhance the effectiveness of the monitoring and evaluation system that you do have. But in terms of best practices, this is really that you should have like clear objectives to really ensure the success of the project and also the success of like how you're going to conduct the monitoring and evaluation to really inform the activities and everything that is like part of your project. And you need to do like regular monitoring and feedback loops, like continuous tracking and timely feedback. Like let's say if you have an indicator that you have to measure every month, make sure that this indicator is being measured every single month so you can capture important information and make decision right away. And also always doing training. Like this is really important in monitoring and evaluation as well, because once you have the monitoring and evaluation system, it doesn't mean it's going to stay the same way you built it since the beginning of the project, but you're going to have to change it every single time as long as the project is going on. So at the same time you're changing it, you need to build the capacity of the staff to actually collect the data the way that you need them to be collected so you can actually do the analysis that you need to do and make informed decision based on the data that you're getting from these indicators. And yeah, that was the very last slide in terms of like learning. Just before we move to the knowledge check, I would like to know if there's any question related to that slide.
So far, no questions.
Okay. So this is going to be a knowledge check. We have like a few questions and people can actually unmute themselves if they want to answer, or if you're shy, you don't want to speak, you can just put it in the chat as well. So first question is, what is monitoring? You can actually unmute yourself to answer or put it in the chat. I'm gonna try to see if I can see the chat myself. Yeah, I see it.
Is it cheating if I jump in?
Can you leave the floor for the participants first and then you can jump after that?
Okay.
Yeah.
You have
Okay, we
only.
have an answer. Yeah, monitoring is an inspection.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other answer? Onia Olasode. Can you please give him more explanation on what you mean by inspection, please?
Okay,
Or if you can
thank
unmute
you very
yourself, yeah.
much. My name is Julius Unia. I'm from Nigeria. It's monitoring, like I say, is an inspection. Like when you have a project and you're trying to monitor. I don't want to use the same word monitor. Like from the word monitor, like you want to expect to be sure that what you want to achieve is being guided, or I should use another word, guided. I'm trying to use the right word without using the word monitoring. We are just trying to guide or watch over your projects or watch over your, yeah, just to watch over. I'm trying to use the right word. So watch over, guide, or see through your projects. Thank you.
So what I really understand from what you're saying is like, it's like the thing is that I've never really defined monitoring as a type of inspection, but what I understand from the word inspection is like a continuous like tracking of the activities of the project that you're working on, if that's what
Yeah,
you mean exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So exactly monitoring, that's what it is. It's like you continuously like tracking the indicators that you have and
yeah.
tracking the activities of the project, the outcomes, and you like measuring everything that's happening. That is what monitoring stands for. Thank you for sharing that. And what about evaluation? What is it?
Evaluation is just to um, just it can be an indicator to examine whether you are making it, whether what you want to, whether you are achieving what you want to do, an area where you need to improve. You are trying to evaluate at every job point. You want to be sure whether you're on the tracks, just like a business plan guide. Yeah, you are trying to
Yeah,
evaluate if you're on the right tracks.
yeah,
Like a
exactly. Like
man, like
you're trying
see if
to
we are
measure the impact of
like,
the project, like the success of the project. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for sharing that. So now next question, what are some other names development practitioners use for M&E? Because M&E is like the standard name for it, but it also has different other names depending on the organization. So what are some of those names? If anybody else also can share, you can jump in and share something.
I think project management, also data analysts, they do more of monitoring and evaluations. Like for me, I'm new in this field, but I have experience in data analysis. So with my own experience, I can also I actually I want to know it. That's why I sign up for this program. But
Okay,
for the background I have as a data analyst, I
okay.
think most of the things we're talking about, collection of data and other things, it's also work of data analysts. So we
Yeah.
can also call it evaluators. Thank you.
All right. So also by other names, we also referred at the beginning of the session, we also talked about like a MEAL, which is MEAL, which stands for monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. But it really depends on the organization that you work for. Like me working with CARE USA, CARE does a lot of research. So most of the time they refer to the monitoring and evaluation system, such as like MERL, which is monitoring, evaluation, research, and learning. It really depends on the scope of work of the organization of the project. And some other call it like DMNE, which is design, monitoring, and evaluation plan. So it has different names that can be used to refer to MNE as well. So Debbie, do we have everybody else on the call? Or
Uh,
did they leave? Because we are going over time and
some people have dropped off. However, I did send follow-ups, I guess, because some people, for some reason, the Eventbrite link didn't want to work for them. But overall, I mean,
okay.
being that like this is going to be recorded, we can always send this to them. I'm also going to be dropping another document on types of evaluations to probably
Mhm.
help you guys. There you go.
Okay. So I don't know if there's like a lack of participation in terms of like the knowledge check. So I just wanted to know how many people we have here, if they can like provide information on the chat or if they want to like unmute themselves and talk. So I don't know who to call. I cannot see the list of the participants actually. That's the
Okay,
thing.
so you want to put people on the spot.
Yeah.
Um, I would call on Antoine or Setu. You guys can turn on your volume or your mic and probably speak on so far, I guess your understanding of monitoring and evaluation, or even what are some key indicators or monitoring and evaluation that you're currently using in your programs if we. No? Or Fred? You can,
Or even if you don't, even if you don't want to speak in English, you can speak French or Creole. We will understand.
okay.
So
We have Onia also raised his hand.
yeah, you can go
Yeah.
on.
Sorry, it's just an observation. You sent a reminder, which in the mail I received some minutes ago, saying the meeting is starting in the next 2 hours. So probably that is why. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a mail which states that this webinar will be starting in the next 2 hours.
It's possible. Wait, it's possible that I don't know, with Eventbrite, like it's scheduled on Eastern Standard Time. So some people
Yeah.
some people are getting the message that the meeting has ended.
Yeah.
But
Why some
overall,
people?
it's overall it's I believe it might be Eventbrite per se, but I guess like those that were able to come in, I was able to like send an email to everyone's inbox or so.
Okay, that will be fine. Okay. It's just an observation. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing. All right. So let me just move to the Q&A part. So if anybody has any question they wanted to ask, you can just actually ask that question either in the chat or you can unmute yourself as well if there's any more
Okay, yeah.
question.
So
Sorry, my own question.
okay.
Yeah, like I said, I really I'm so much interested in this area, monitoring and evaluations, because I know how important it is in handling a project, and there are a lot of potential in it. Sounds like I've been attending webinars related to monitoring and evaluations. Now, for a starter, what advice can you give me? What and what can I do? Though there are trainings here in Nigeria, but a little bit expensive for me to afford to go to enroll. But on my own, I've been trying to learn it, but it's not okay. It actually I understand it, but there's no opportunity for projects. So I don't know which advice, because I know if I go to fit for a project, I will understand it better. So what advice can you give someone like me who is so much interested in it, but there is no opportunity to carry such things out? Thank you.
All right. So I personally would recommend you to, there are a lot of resources online. You can start by looking on LinkedIn. I don't know if you can use LinkedIn, maybe LinkedIn Premium, where you have access to certain training sessions or courses on LinkedIn about monitoring and evaluation. And you can also follow the pages. What I'm gonna do after this meeting, I'm going to send you like a list of resources that you can use actually. Most of them will be on LinkedIn, and also I can share some documents that I have about how to conduct monitoring and evaluation. I can share all that with you via email. Did you send your email on the group chat?
Yes, he
If you
did.
did not, okay. So I'm gonna gather all these resources that I have, and I personally use for myself as well. So you can start by doing that. And at the same time, what I'm going to do, I have my contact information here. You can always reach out to me if you need to understand, if there's something that you need to have more information about. And I would be more than happy to schedule a call with you whenever whenever it's convenient for me and for you as well. And anybody on the call as well, if they need to talk more about monitoring and evaluation, not that because I'm an expert in it, but I've been doing monitoring and evaluation for at least, I wanna say 4 years, but it's like 5 years now. So I can really guide you to like understand more than the basics of monitoring and evaluation. I'm not gonna make you an expert because I'm not an expert, but I can really help you to understand what is the basics of it and how you can really use it and be more comfortable in conducting monitoring and evaluation as well.
I can also jump into your question, Julius. For me, when it comes to monitoring and evaluation, it's always great to learn and it's always great to grow as well. But if you are not putting it into practice, you will lose your skills. So best opportunities for you when there really aren't any opportunities available is you make it yourself. Either you intern at institutions, organizations to help you hone this skill. I would say I mostly know institutions in Ghana, but there is an organization called WAXI, which is the West Africa Civil Society Organizations. And there's also other institutions that you can probably reach out to see if they're looking for interns in your expertise or your area of interest is monitoring and evaluation, and you wouldn't mind doing an internship with them. That also would be an ideal. Also, other opportunities is if you could say, if you're doing your own project, it's always great to do a mini exercise, create a survey, try to see like, is there a particular topic you're interested in, just to see and evaluate like, how things could be different. It's always good to put into practice what you are learning as well.
Okay. Anything else? O'Neill?
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So, what advice could you give to people who does monitoring and evaluation on the field and 80 and according to the security issues, you cannot go to collect the information on the field and supervise your works. So what kind of advice could you give us to or could I say that to
Address or overcome that issue?
yeah, to overcome the situation?
Well, the first advice would be, it's gonna be funny. The first advice would be, I think you will really need to review the logical framework that you have to how to work on the assumption and also plan on a mitigation plan. And by mitigation plan, you can explore what resources that you have in that community, even when something is happening in terms of insecurity or safety and stuff like that. What do you have in that community who do you have in that community that can really help you to collect the data, even if you can't personally go yourself? Do you understand what I mean? Like for me, I was working in Cote d'Ivoire and I couldn't travel to they call them zone de l'intérieur in Cote d'Ivoire. And I couldn't travel there to collect data for the evaluation that I was doing for them. So the resources that we use, we do have people that we use to work with in those areas. So we try to reach out to them. Those who are not available, they refer us to other resources that we could actually rely on to collect the data for us. But at the same time, you can rely on these resources. You actually need to design a training on the type of like work that they're going to do, so you can like build the capacity to collect the data with quality for you in order for you to do your work. That would be the very first thing I would tell you to do.
I would also like to jump in because I believe in 2018, I was doing my thesis and I had to collect data underground in Haiti, but I was not underground. Cassange, I had like 3 interns that basically went underground to collect the data. And to facilitate me, I used technology available, whether Google Form, SurveyMonkey, like it's always great to use free softwares before you jump into paying for something for a platform that may not be best for everyone if they don't have the capacity to learn on how to use it. So Google Form is always like the easiest and free option that I always recommend to people, is that like now you're digitizing all your data. That way you on the back end will then be able to review it on a timely fashion. But it's always great to have people on the ground in the area that you're working on to actually collect the data. Now, if you don't, now that is a different option where you will have to directly contact them, do a suivi, just to make sure that like they are if they're, you could say, well versed. Sometimes they're not well versed when it comes to technology. It's just them utilizing a simple, and you make your questionnaire, your surveys very direct. That way they'll be able to respond to you in a timely fashion. And you can even provide some incentives saying like, hey, if you basically take part of our surveys, you get $50, or you get $50 top up for Digicel. It's like you make it somewhat enticing for them so that they can at least provide you the data that you need.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank
And
you.
talking
Thank you
about
so much.
software, yeah, talking about
We,
tools that you can
about
use.
The Google Form, what are the others?
What do you mean?
Yeah,
Oh,
Debbie,
sorry.
I think he's asking for the tools that he can use, but I
Okay,
think
okay.
I use Google Form too. But I think Google Form, you need internet to use it in order to submit the survey or whatever. But in areas as well where you don't have really like good access to internet, or like the network is not working properly, there are other platforms that are free as well that you can use, such as Solstice, which I used recently, where people can go, even if they don't have access to internet connection, they can actually fill out the form and then save it in their draft. They can actually submit it, but once their phone is connected to the internet, they can just sync it, like synchronize it, and then you will receive all those data that were collected by that individual, you know? So I think on top of like Google Form that you can use, but in areas where you don't have access to internet, or network is not that good, you can prioritize using software that can still be used without internet connection, such as Solstice. But the only part of it is that you need to download it. You
I would
cannot use it
say,
on like a browser.
to add on to that, I would say, Cassange, like we can send you guys when we're gonna send the presentation, a list of survey softwares that you can use for your team.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you in advance.
Welcome.
All right.
I believe there was one last question, or someone was trying to speak. I don't
Yeah,
know.
someone was trying to speak.
Ania, were you trying to say something additional?
No, I'm fine. I'm only asking if the speaker can share his LinkedIn so that I can follow him up.
Oh, no, I got you. Let me just drop it in the chat for you guys.
Thank you, Debbie.
And I'm also saying I'm available here in Nigeria if you need somebody on ground to work with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where in Nigeria are you?
I'm in Abuja.
Nice.
Okay. We recently needed people in
Yeah.
Nigeria, but we are already done with the work. It was mostly in Lagos.
Okay.
Lagos, Enugu, and Kano.
Okay.
But we got all the data already.
Okay. Yeah. If you have anyone ahead coming, we want to work with you guys. Thank you.
Okay.
And drop in, before we log off, just drop in the LinkedIn for Cassange in the chat.
Thank you, Debbie.
And did you guys, I'm like, nobody asked, but did you guys need my LinkedIn or no? Oh, we're good.
Yeah, we need it. We need it. We need it. I need it, please.
1 second.
Oh, like Debbie, maybe you should talk a little bit about some NGO to them if they are interested in what you're doing as well. So
if You could say another time. I don't like to be put on the spot.
Sorry.
Yeah, it would be great to talk into about the Saint NGO.
Yeah, I honestly would I would love to right now, but at the same time we've gone 36 minutes over time. I think the best option would be in our next event. I'm planning to actually host get to know us session on a Saturday so that you guys at least get to know what it is that we're trying to do. But we're mostly focusing on data, basically data analysis somewhat, nonprofit, but like our focus is mostly nonprofit, to equip nonprofits on how to use data so that they can meet their goals. And our geographic focus so happens to be Haiti and just Haitian diaspora on a broader perspective. And hold on, I just saw a text. Sorry. So it's just enabling nonprofits to do a better job by utilizing data so that they can make data-driven decisions, and also by providing these courses. I Learn Saturday sessions on not on a weekly basis, but mostly on the third and fourth Saturday of the month. We also have a program, mostly trained program, that is going to be more like Kahoot section, where we have organizations to participate on sessions like this. Again, I'm babbling. I don't like to be put on the spot. But overall, our intentions is to help people make better data-driven decisions related to nonprofit, oh my God, philanthropy, that has a correlations to Haiti. Again, that is not the actual what it is, what we're doing, but I feel like I've been put on the spot.
Sorry to put you on the spot then.
I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, but thank you for at least asking. But I will definitely create I guess like have a learn about us session, that way you guys can ask all the questions away. As of right now, I'm like, my face is not showing, which actually is good, but if my face was showing, I would be like all red.
Okay. Do you work with Asian institution who located in Haiti?
We have worked, so last year we did a cohort with 27 organizations. 17 of them participated, were from Haiti, and 10 were from the US, like Haitian-led organizations. And most of them focus in different initiatives. And to answer you, the answer is yes. Our goal with our organizations is to have a platform where not only nonprofits, but agencies, as well as government, as well as like foundations, are able to find nonprofits working on the ground, and as well as, you could say, to help individuals find organizations working on the ground to help them when disaster happens. That way they can find an institution and organizations to collaborate with instead of actually creating their nonprofit. So for us, we're creating visibility and we're providing resources on the sector that is well needed, and that many people, I guess, like, because the resources are very siloed, they're very scattered. So we're centralizing everything.
Okay, thank you. But it is possible to be linked with an institution. So I'm now a coordinator of an institution. We work with students, like doing some training for them to prepare them to baccalaureate. And we provide the students stuff to go to school, like bag and other stuff. So what is the possibility to be linked with this kind of organization? Maybe you can provide some training for.
It's a matter of, you could say, reaching out. If we have their information, we would then reach out to basically coordinate any form of trainings for them. And we do have a partner, but it's not yet announced, so I cannot really say it out loud per se. It's just, again, tapping them, reaching out to coordinate any form of training that is obviously going to be virtual, and we can then move that way. But if you want to be connected with other organizations that is doing the same work, it's not that it is tricky. It's just a matter of, like, we can provide you a list of organizations doing the same work, and you would then will have to do the follow-up to see if whether or not they will be interested in collaborating with you.
There's any problem. There's any problem. You can link up, linking us up.
You
So the
cannot
English is not very
wait,
good, but we will try to do the best.
repeat that one more time. Like, you cannot, I cannot look
He
you up
said like you
online.
can, he said that you can link them up,
I can link them up.
like
He said
connect them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
connect them.
can
yeah.
connect them up.
So if you have idea on other support, you can provide this institution.
Mhm.
Don't you can tell me on this training maybe.
I would have to do a mini, you could say this is where the data collection kind of comes in, a mini research to provide you a list. So when it comes to Haiti's nonprofit sector, unfortunately, that data has not been digitized, and unfortunately, it has not been updated. So in Ministère de la Planification, their data set is not up to date, whereas the list that they give you might be, you could say it might be skewed, whereas they give you a list of 200. Within that 200, there's 10 of them that are inactive, or there's like 5 of them that lost a status outside of Haiti. And then Ministère des Affaires Sociales, they have, I believe back in 2018, I was told approximately 25,000 associations were registered in all 10 departments. This number obviously may have increased, but again, we don't know because that list was not provided. And then you have like other institutions that are, you could say they are quote unquote nonprofit, but they're not registered. So you also have to take those into account. And then we have the nonprofit data sets of international, you could say INGOs, international organizations, or organizations that have 501c3 status in the United States, or charity status in Canada, or association of foundation statuses in Europe and whatnot. So it's a matter of the data sets that we mostly are working with are vetted from, you could say, the IRS database, where if you ask me a question, I can pull out the data set and tell you like, oh, there's 10 organizations that prioritizes school kids and education. Versus Haiti, it's a little tricky because that data set is not yet up to date. And our goal, you could say by mid, hopefully by fall, we will basically start a campaign where these institutions will register themselves on our platform. That way people can see that they exist. But currently we have, our data set is approximately 4,000 nonprofits, but most of them are in holds of 501c3 status in the United States, or charity status in Canada, charity statuses in UK, as well as like France and other places.
Okay, thank you. So if there are any email address you can let maybe on this chat, or maybe on this chat, or you can write on my personal address, email address, to talk maybe on this subject. So it could be,
Of course.
it could.
I
Okay.
just dropped the email address, and I also have yours, and I can always follow up with you just to get some, I guess, like more insights on what it is that you're looking for. Because on top of my head, I cannot, I guess, like, you know, give you like 10 institutions that is currently focusing on education in school kids. There's a lot. And I think the issue when it comes to our nonprofit sector is that some organizations are very much inactive. And the only time that they are active is when there is a disaster, if you catch my drift.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions?
No, it's good. It's good. It's good
Awesome,
enough.
awesome.
Because we have to let the trainer to keep on these
Don't worry.
on this subject.
Definitely. But thank you guys for joining us for today. And though we kind of went over our initial time, again, we appreciate you guys and thank you, Cassange. And as mentioned, the PowerPoint will be shared with you guys, as well as a list of probably resources that can help you
Resources, yeah.
in with this monitoring and evaluation, as well as softwares that you guys can utilize in your own initiatives. Awesome. Thank you. And we'll see you on the
Thank you,
next.
guys. See you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.